Hey guys, this is Iggy back again. So today I'm going to show you how to build a computer inside of the Fractal Design Define S case. This is a pretty sweet looking case so far. Obviously I haven't built inside of it, but the front panel, like most of you want, is solid, smooth. There are no optical bays here. There is no door. It is just a solid front. All you have in the front is maybe the LED light. That's it, you know, the hard drive indicator light. Again, it is a great looking case. It's got plenty of room for your video cards, plenty of room for anything really, mainly airflow. You can see right up front here there is a fan, and that's just blowing straight across through your video card and, you know, whatever else you have there. And you can add a second fan up here. But enough about that. Let's get started with the build. Hopefully I can help you guys out. Alright guys, so at the base of every computer, be it a gaming PC, a workstation, a PC to browse the web, there is a motherboard. So first off, when you buy a brand new motherboard, there is going to be a little shield right over here. Unfortunately, I don't have one on this board since I've already used it, but there should be instructions in the manual on how to remove that. Make sure you don't bend any of these pins. If those pins get bent, your board is dead and they will not even honor that warranty. Okay, so first off, what we're going to do is to open this guy up, we're going to push this little lever down and pull it out and just let go of it. So you see that little lever pops up. So we're going to lift it, and then we're going to lift that tray out of the way. So right now you have free access to the CPU portion. Alright, so this is the CPU. This is an Intel Core i7-4790K. Might be a little bit too much, but you know what? You're protecting yourself for the future with this processor. It is great. So what we're going to do is, you'll notice right here and right here, there's two little grooves. See that right there? Okay, that lines up with this groove and this groove here. So what you're going to do is, again, be very careful. Just grab it along the sides like this and just lay it down. Okay? You might just want to wiggle it around a little bit there. You know, you can hear that little knocking against the sides. That means it's good in there. So now what we're going to do is just lower this. Okay, and then right here, you're going to want to make sure these little nubs here, or fingers should I say, slide under here. So push here very lightly, push down, pull this lever down. You'll notice the entire holder, if anything, is moving forward. That's sliding right under here. Push it down, and the same way we installed it, push out, push down, and then it's going to slide under. So right there, you've installed the CPU. You're not even close to being done, but that is a big step. So now we're going to install the CPU heatsink. I'm not going to go over too much on how to install that, though you will see me installing it here. The reason I'm not going to go over it too much is because, well, all CPU heatsink fans install differently. So I'm just going to go ahead, go through the motions, and you guys can see what I do. This is the backplate for the CPU heatsink. Some don't even have a backplate, just as good, but this is, you know, to keep everything in place. This is a pretty heavy CPU heatsink from our friends at Tech. Alright, so I'm going to flip the board over. Have it on top of foam there just to protect the back of the board. Alright, right now we're just going to rest it here. You'll notice there's a hole here, 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 and here. And for this, it lines up with this hole, this hole, this hole, and this hole. So we're just going to lay it down right now. It's not finalized. And then we're going to grab these little guys to screw it into place. Again, I'm not going to go over it too much because they're all different, but you'll see me installing it here. And I'm just sliding it on right now, just so that it has a base and it won't slip and slide everywhere. All right, I screwed one side in. You can see it is screwed in here, right here. All right, and now let's do the other side. Again, I'm not focusing too much on this for you because there are many different types of CPU heatsinks. The way I install this one isn't necessarily the way you're going to install the one you buy. Okay, and last but not least, and now that all four are down there nicely, then we can just screw it in a little bit tighter. Again, that is for retention. Okay. And now we'll just set her down. Now we're going to go ahead and put some thermal paste on here. Particular one I'm using is the Arctic Cooling Arctic MX2. There are many different types. So the way I do it is I put a dab right in the middle, maybe pea size, because when you put that heatsink on there, it's going to go ahead and flatten the rest down for you perfectly. Okay, now because this is a large heatsink, first off I'm going to go ahead and install the RAM for you. I'll show you how that's done here. This is DDR3. You'll notice right here it's kind of a little indentation as well. And that's going to go ahead and match on with the DDR3 notch right over here. So you see, you can't fit it like that because, well, the notch on the RAM is here and the notch on the board is here. So we'll just go ahead and flip it around. Now, this little lever right over here that puts everything in place, the RAM, on some boards is on this side as well. On this particular board, the Asus Sabertooth Z87, it doesn't have it on one side because they want you to just push it in here, and actually I'll do it over here. Push it down over here. Now put it in place. Now all you do is push down over here and then push down over here and you'll hear a click. That's how you know it's installed. So I'll go ahead and install the rest. Alright, so showing you how to install a CPU and how to install some RAM. So we're getting up there pretty quickly actually. Okay, now for this heatsink, there's two ways you can install it. You can install it like this, or you can install it like this. So installing it this way, the fan's going to be sucking air from the front and blowing it out the back. Or if you want to install it like this, you can, and it's going to be blowing it out of the top of the case. In my particular case, I like to blow it out of the back. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, first I'm going to go ahead and install these little brackets. Alright, so I'm going to sit it just like this. And then just put these down just to start it up. Alright, now the heatsink has two little grooves down here, and the little bridge has two little notches also, and that keeps the little bridge in place. So now I'm just going to sit the CPU right on top, the heatsink right on top of the thermal paste and right on top of the CPU, of course. This is where it comes very much in handy to have a screwdriver with a magnetic tip. Alright, and now we'll just go ahead and put the CPU fan on. This is a very unique design, the way they have these fans installed. Okay, and then turn it right over for you. And now we'll go ahead and install and plug in the fan, sorry. So we have to look on here for, there's chassis fan, CPU optional, and CPU fan. You're going to want to make sure you plug it in the right one. So I'll plug it in CPU fan. Nice little snug fit, and we'll tuck this down here just to hide it. Alright, so we're done there installing the CPU heatsink and fan, the memory, all on the motherboard. Again, this is the base of the computer. Without this, you have nothing. This is where your video card's going to sit, where your hard drives are going to plug into, where your power supply is going to plug into, right up here, and back here. And then, once it is plugged in, that is where you're going to install or plug in your USB devices, your video through here, maybe your speakers if you have any speakers, Ethernet, your audio cables unless you use a sound card, and over here more USB ports. And of course there's a little fan over here just to keep the bottom of the underside of this little shield, if anything, kind of dust free, sucking air out, blowing air in. So just to keep it dust free. Different motherboard than you may have, so I'm not going to go too much into detail on that. But now let's go ahead and install this into our case. Alright, so here's the Fractal Design Define S just opened up and on its side. Before we install the motherboard, we're going to want to install the I/O shield. This comes with every single motherboard. If you lose it, it's not a huge deal, but it just works out better. So I'm going to go ahead and spin this around over here. You can see that it goes right over here. So the way you install that is, first you match up how the board is going to sit. For example, if my board is going to sit like that, I'm just going to want to make sure that, okay, that matches up just like that. So this will be the bottom right here. All right, so I'm going to just plug it in down here. And you'll notice that there are little notches right here, you know, all along the I/O shield, all along everywhere. That's so that when you push it through, the little pieces of metal are going to sit behind here and just lock it in place. So I'm going to go ahead, align it here. Don't get frustrated. These aren't always the easiest thing to install. Alright, so that's good in there. Now we're going to go ahead and install the motherboard standoffs. Right here on the accessory box, there's 8 of them. So the back side of the motherboard of the case itself does have a little notch right here to help you install, you know, keep things right in place. This is going to be a godsend for you. To put these standoffs, you're going to want to put your motherboard down in here, and then you're going to go ahead visually matching where all the holes are on your board. This might take you a few tries. Don't get upset. I've done this a million times, so it's easy for me. If you've never done this, or even if you've done this a few times, you might mess up, but it's okay. You know, just might take a little bit longer. So then you can see there was one here, here. Already there's the little standoff right over here, 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 and here. And some motherboards actually come with a little layout to help you install them. And Fractal Design also has a great idea here. So this little guy, unassuming, maybe doesn't look like much, but if you use that with your screwdriver, this will help you screw in those standoffs. They include that in the package. A great little idea. So I'm going to go ahead and screw in the standoffs. They have here listed on the case, by the way, A's, M's, and I's. A is for ATX. Most ATX motherboards are going to have these little holes. Most, and then they have the M. Most M-ATX motherboards are going to have these holes. And then they have I. Most ITX motherboards are going to have certain holes as well. So they help you out there as well. Alright, now we're done there. So now all we have to do is slide the motherboard into place. Alright, and that's basically it for that. Now we're going to want to screw in the motherboard. And they give you here 12 motherboard screws. You can see that here. And again, the magnetic tip screwdrivers will be your friends here. So now, because of that little reverse standoffs, motherboard standoffs back there, the board kind of falls into place, locks into place, so that you can actually, you're free to use both hands to screw this guy in, rather than one to hold the board and one to screw. Alright, so now that we have the motherboard screwed in and these parts of the motherboard are already done, let's go ahead and fast forward to installing the hard drives, since they are going to be on the other side of the case. Back here is where you're going to be screwing in any mechanical hard drives you might have, or if you only have SSDs, you can either install them back here, or if you have more than just 2 SSDs, you can install those 2 back there and 3 additional here. So they give you plenty of options, and so happens that I do have 3 SSDs and 2 mechanical drives. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is first off install the mechanical drives. Just unscrew this guy real quick, slide this out, and then I'm going to use these screws for the 3.5-inch drives. You can see right over here. Alright, so it goes like this, and let me just see how I'm going to lay it down. Laying it down just like that. I'll turn it around so you can see exactly why. So you can see here is going to be my SATA data cable and my SATA power cable, and they're just going to feed through here. This gives you perfect access to everything without having a cluttered mess in plain sight. Alright, so with this, just going to put this here, then I'm going to match up these holes here with the hard drive. See how the hard drive has these holes here? Alright. Alright, so just installed my very first hard drive on here. Nice and tight. It's not going to go anywhere. And because these little grommets are made out of rubber, when it vibrates, it's not touching any other piece of metal, or when, should I say, when it spins up, it's not touching any piece of metal. So that is going to keep the noise level down. Alright, and now for hard drive number 2. Follow the same method. They really did do a great job here to keep the noise level down. Trying to put thought into every single step of the process. Alright. Now just to flip it this way, so you can still see this guy right over here. I'm going to install an SSD there. Now for the SSD, it's going to be a different set of screws. These guys right over here, they bring 20 in the box. I'm just going to take this out of here. Alright, my first drive I'm going to be installing is my Kingston HyperX 240 gigabyte 3K drive, and it's going to follow very much of the same process. You're going to see 4 holes here, and then you're going to see 4 holes here on the tray. So just line them up. Alright. And like we did before, we're just going to slide it into place. and screw it down. Fits pretty nicely in there too. Now we're going to go ahead and install the other two SSDs back here. The next drive I'll be installing is the Patriot Ignite 480 gigabyte drive. Now I'm going to be installing it so that the cables come up this way. That way not to, just in case, to get in the way over here at all. And of course this is the back of the motherboard, so the way that Fractal designed it is they opened up a little notch back here so that if you ever installed one of these guys, you can easily do it without having to take the motherboard out. That is a big pain. I showed you outside of the case just to, show you a little bit easier on how to do that. To not have the case in the way. But now that it's in there, if I ever wanted to update, I don't need to take the motherboard out. Much easier for me. And for you, of course. Alright, first one in. And my next drive is the Samsung Evo 850. I'm sorry, yeah, 850. Alright, so we've installed 3 SSDs and 2 mechanical drives. So now we're pretty much done back here. We are going to have to come back in a little bit for cabling, but let's get to some more of the hardware out on the front.